Hallo zusammen und willkommen beim mmalove Podcast Episode 22. Nach dem grossen Erfolg bei dieser Live-Schaltung, die wir da gemacht haben, und übrigens merci vielmal für all die super Feedbacks, die wir bekommen haben, Live-Broadcasting über UFC 162, sind wir gerade ein bisschen beflügelt gewesen, jawohl. Und darum kommen wir jetzt gerade mit der Episode 22. Ich bin der Vladimir Baumann, der Metze ist leider verhindert, wird aber sicher beim nächsten Podcast wieder dabei sein. Wie gesagt, Feedbacks und so nehmen wir natürlich gerne entgegen auf unserer Facebook-Page mmalove Podcast. Folgt uns auf Twitter @mmalove Podcast oder schreibt uns irgendein Mail mit was auch immer, Fragen oder Anmerkungen oder Verbesserungsvorschlägen oder einfach auch ein Lob. mmalovepodcast@gmail.com. Herzliches Dankeschön an unseren Lieblingssponsor soulcoware.com. Da gibt es alles, was ihr über fürs Kampfsport braucht: Thai-Boxen, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu und MMA. www.soulcoware.com. Alle riesen danke vielmals für die geile Liebli, die du uns gemacht hast. Die heutige Episode, da werden wir ein längeres Gespräch führen mit dem Patrick DeCaro, ganz ein interessanter Mann. BJJ Black Belt aus Lausanne, schon x Jahre dabei im Business, hat auch mal MMA gekämpft. Mit dem werden wir uns unterhalten über Gott und die Welt, und dann werden wir sicher noch ein bisschen über das momentane Geschehen im MMA noch ein bisschen etwas diskutieren können. Und da haben wir ihn jetzt am Telefon, Patrick DeCaro aus Lausanne. Jetzt für die Leute, die der angelsächsischen Sprache nicht mächtig sind, ist es ein bisschen ein Problem. Der Patrick DeCaro redet Französisch, Englisch und einen Haufen andere Sprachen. Mein Französisch ist pas très bien, und darum haben wir uns geeinigt darüber, dass wir das Ganze in Englisch machen. Ich hoffe, es ist gleich interessant für euch. Ich hoffe, ihr versteht es gleich, und es wird sicher eine geile Sache. Patrick, welcome on the MMA Love podcast. It has been a while. We were talking, it's been like almost half a year now that you come on the show. Finally, we were able to find a date and hook you up. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks a lot for having me. I was still actually waiting to come to Zurich to sit on a nice sofa I saw in the other movies. And the other one, like that big brown sofa. But I guess we'll have to do it by phone, and I'll come back to...
Cool. Well, the sofa is kind of gone. We're in a different location now. We're doing it from my house, which is a little bit more humble, not as spacious as the other one. But it would be awesome if one day you would come to Zurich and we can do this again.
No problem. I'm up for it.
Right on. Now, there are a lot of young listeners out there, and with young, I mean they're not into this sport for very long years. Some don't even know what pride is, which is a shame. And maybe they don't know who Patrick DeCaro is. Could you talk a little bit about yourself? Who are you?
Well, let's say I'm a young guy. I'm 30 years old. I've been in the martial arts world for the last 15 years. I was born in America, moved to Switzerland when I was 12. And started when I was 12, 13 with studies.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So I've been doing martial arts for the last 15 years, more or less. I think this is my 15th. In German, you say Jubiläum. Yeah. And so hopefully, I'm going to try doing something at the end of the year or towards September to celebrate this. But yeah, I started with Japanese style jiu-jitsu when I was 12. With a teacher who did a bit of everything, as it does. And then BJJ started coming to Europe, actually. I was there at the beginning and started doing that, then did some grappling. Had my first MMA fight when I was 17. Tried getting a second one when I was 18. I did that. Had almost another one, injured myself, so I did Thai boxing for 3 years. Had a amateur kickboxing fight, always. At the same time, I was competing in BJJ and grappling as well. And there we go. Started teaching, and I've been around, basically. I was here from the beginning until now.
Why did you come to Switzerland, or when?
I was born in America, and I came to Switzerland when I was 12 because of my parents' jobs. Both of them are doctors. My mom is now a mom, though. But my dad came back from America to Switzerland, and so, yeah, that's where we came with the whole family.
So you mentioned that you tried all sorts of different martial arts, traditional jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, boxing, Thai boxing stuff. Were you always drawn to sort of like complete complete sort of systems?
I was actually more pulled into it. Let's say that I started off with a full system as like self-defense, Japanese style jiu-jitsu. But then I'm a competitor. I love competing. I should have been an athlete. You know, when I was a kid, when I was born, actually, the doctor pulled me out of my mom and said, "This kid's gonna become an athlete."
All right.
Unfortunately, and honestly, that's no joke. So, it didn't happen that way. I did a lot of sports in general. I'm a passionate about sports, all sports, tennis, diving, wakeboarding, or anything. But then, basically, when BJJ started coming into Europe, I really liked that. I liked the intellectual aspect of fighting, and so I find it like a chess match. I mean, it sounds very cheesy. Everyone says it, but that's really what I like about it, honesty. And then I was actually fighting at the European Championships when I was 17. I don't remember what year that was in. 13 years ago, and basically a promoter saw me and said, "Hey, you want to fight in an MMA match?" I'm like, "Okay." I mean, I didn't know how to strike. I didn't know anything. I didn't even really know what MMA was. So I'm like, "Okay, let's try it out." And so I went to Germany and I did a semi-pro MMA match. I say semi-pro because it was the weirdest rules. It was an unlimited number of 5-minute rounds.
Whoa.
Not allowed to strike punches to the head when you're on a grounded opponent, but you're allowed to knee and kick to the head, and you're allowed to headbutt, actually.
Oh.
So that's a nice way to start. And my first opponent was a Slovakian kickboxer. So a kid of 17 who's never been really punched because he didn't come from that sport. It was a nice awakening, you know. Got kicked and got punched a bit, and then I ground off because that's where my background came from, and I managed to get an armbar in the first round. But it was a 10-man tournament, and unfortunately I couldn't continue because I didn't know anything about nutrition at the time, didn't know anything about anything. So I was fighting at like 9 in the evening. My last meal was at 12 at lunchtime. I was so stressed. I got punched. I got kicked. Just no more energy. I couldn't even leave the ring. The ropes were too heavy to open up. And then I just had to quit. You know, I was under oxygen for 20 minutes at the, the medic station, and so I couldn't continue, unfortunately. That was the beginning.
Did you feel like, oh man, I don't want to do this ever again?
No, I was more like, shit, I couldn't show what I really wanted to do because I want to know how far I could go, and that's probably why I continue. And I still have a lot to learn. My first amateur match, because then I did an amateur shuto in Holland, actually. Yeah. That went well, and the same adversary wanted to fight me in pro rules, so I did a pro fight, and then I did another pro fight in 2011. That was my last fight. I don't, in BJJ I've learned to turn myself on, like to go for it, no matter what happens. Yeah. And I'm still too thinkative, if that's a word, actually. It's too thinkative when I'm fighting and striking. When I did my amateur kickboxing fight, I just was there. I came out of the fight. I wasn't even tired. I wasn't sweating. I didn't do anything. I got kicked a bit, and it was a draw in the end. I punched a bit, but nothing. I wasn't showing my skill set. Yeah. And so I still have lots of things to learn from MMA, and I think that's what MMA can actually teach me. That's why I'm still in it. I love coaching people because I can get things out of them, but I need to be able to get the things I get out of them out of myself. And until that happens, I'm not stopping.
Are you a perfectionist?
You could say something like that. But I would say I'm more. I'd like to think of myself as more of an intellectual fighter. You know, but that's also my downside. Yeah. I think too much. You know. Yeah. I love analyzing, and I have an analytical brain. And if I walk you through my thoughts during a fight, it's honestly I'm clear-minded, and maybe that's stopping me actually from actually moving forward.
You're lacking that sort of, how do you say, like killer instinct, stuff like that?
Yeah, the oomph type thing. Something's there, but I have it in me because I have it in BJJ. I mean, I can take someone down onto the ref's table and not feel bad about it, you know? Because I know they'll do it to me. But when I'm fighting in MMA, I don't know, I don't let go. I don't let go, not even if I'm being kicked or punched. As you saw in my last fight, I got kicked for a minute and a half. I didn't do anything. But I was analyzing. I was doing something. I was analyzing. And then I turned on the machine somehow. I told myself, okay, now let's go. and I turned it on too far, and you know what happened. You know, I finished the fight in 20 seconds, but I got disqualified because I couldn't stop my last knee. And, you know, it happens. And it was my fault, and I need to learn more and have more experience in that. But, you know, that's where I'm trying to go. I need to have the same, and I guess it's just experience. Because it took time in BJJ, like any martial art,
So you kind of say, like, the thinking gets in your way. Do you kind of like, do you teach, like, kind of like the contrary to your students, to not to think that much, to just, like, go with the flow and just do your thing?
It depends. It all depends on what level. Because I think beginners, they don't think enough.
Yeah.
They just go all out, you know, and you can see it because they're all powerhouses. That's what people like doing. And when you don't know what to do, you power.
Yeah.
And that's where I teach them to use their brain. Hey, listen, man, you don't have infinite power.
Yeah.
So use the power when you need it. When you start getting to higher level guys who use only technique, you start to teach them, hey guys, you need to put a bit more power, change your rhythms a bit. Just go with it. Just let go. Stop thinking. What happens sometimes, I teach one of my students actually. Whenever he goes with me, he changes his game, and he's impressed. I call my black belt, and he's impressed by the black belt.
Yeah.
So one thing I tell him to do, hey, listen, man, if it's that, we exchange belts. So he's wearing the black belt, and I'm wearing the blue belt, and it changes. You know, he just goes with the flow there, and he lets go. And letting go sometimes is just awesome. It makes you think. You know, it just doesn't make you think. Exactly that. It doesn't make you think. It just makes you go with your instinct. And that's why I call, for the last couple of years, you know, I haven't been training that much for myself.
Yeah.
You know, when I go, I call it instinct fighting.
Yeah.
You just go on whatever you have, you know, you just go for it.
Yeah.
And sometimes then one of the basic principles that always has to be there, I find, is having fun.
Yeah.
I always tell all my guys, you know, winning is good. Go for the win, no problem. If you lose, you know, it happens. But all you have to do is have fun. Because that's what it is in the end. It's fun. And the day you lose the fun is the day your level starts going down. In my opinion, of course.
I mean, if it's not fun, I mean, there's a lot of training involved, a lot of hours, a lot of sacrifice. I mean, if you don't have fun, like, why would you do that?
Exactly. I mean, I think it's a common situation that people see nowadays. Also, not outside of the fighting world. In your job, in your life, you do things because you have to, because it pays the bills or whatever. Imagine. I mean, that's why I'm an architect at a base. I stopped architecture to go into the sports world because it wasn't the life for me. I was counting the hours I was in the office, and once you start doing that, something's wrong and you have to change it. And I think lots of people in the sports world, outside the sports world, just in general, just don't do what they want to do. They do because they have to, or they're forced, or sometimes in life you just lose the passion, or you lose the willingness to do something, and then you don't have the power to change. I believe in change,
Yeah. But sometimes it's like difficult to find the moment for the change, isn't it?
Yeah, the thing is, yes, it is, definitely. But the thing is, there's the expression, it's never the right time.
Yeah.
So I had that once, and actually it was my brother who told me, I had some time off, and because I was in between stopping architecture and starting my studies again to get a second degree. I was like, I want to go to the United States to train, but I don't know if I have the money. I don't know if the time. What happens if? My brother's like, hey, dude, you're not doing anything. Time. What are you messing up? Do you have the money? Yes or no? Simple question. Yes? Okay. What's stopping you? You're only stopping yourself.
Yeah.
So what happened? Just a week after I bought my ticket, and 2 weeks after that, I was gone for 3 months in the United States. So you have to make your time. You have to make your own time to do things. And if it's in training, you have to take the time. I train some athletes right now. You probably know him, Vladimir.
Yeah.
We've had him on the show.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of mine. I try helping him out as much as I can, teaching him just not only about fighting, but just about being an athlete and just giving him tips, whatever he needs. I'm here. I'm his friend,
Yeah.
But people like that, him and other athletes in general, they just have to remember, life is hard work. Being an athlete is even harder work. And, like you said, you have to have that fun component in there. But you have to go out there and do what you got to do to get it done, And no one else can do that besides yourself.
What kind of a coach are you? Are you more like the intellectual coach or more like the hands-on coach?
Well, I would say you have to talk to my students. I would say I'm a mixture of both in the way that I teach them fundamentals.
Yeah.
I would say I don't come out with the crazy move.
Yeah.
I'm not a crazy move guy.
Yeah.
Because I believe crazy moves are based on very basic concepts.
Yeah.
And I love basic concepts.
Yeah.
I teach them basic concepts, but when you go to one of my trainings, I will shout at you, but only to encourage you. For being always pushing you. I'll push you to your limit so you can get better, and how many times, talk to Volkan again, and he'll tell you that I lose my voice every training, I lose my voice every competition, just encouraging, pushing the guys. So I'm hands-on because I'll go in there and show them what's wrong. I'll show them, I'm not the type of guy who stands at the side of the ring or stands at the side of the mat saying, do this, but don't do it on me. I'll go in there and I'll get tapped, I'll get boxed, I'll get kicked. There's no problem, as long as I can teach something to someone else.
Yeah. Sometimes you hear coaches screaming, especially like in the MMA world, stuff like get up," or "fight back." But I mean, is that really an instruction? Like, don't you have to be like more specific?
I've heard worse. I've heard like win or don't lose. So yeah, I totally agree. For me, that's not necessarily coaching. There's different types of coaching. I was strategic coaching, where you tell your guy what to do, and then there's just encouragement.
Yeah.
I have a tendency myself. I believe in doing both.
Yeah.
And so if my guy will fight 15 minutes, I will be talking 15 minutes.
Okay.
I will be telling him everything from breathe, keep breathing, you're doing good, keep your hands up, don't do that, watch out, he's coming at you, he's going to do it again. Yeah. At the same time, I'm lucky I speak lots of languages, so most of the time I can hear what the other coach is saying.
Yeah.
So I will listen to what the coach is saying and give the instructions to my guy. I believe in, those old video games, like Street Fighter type guys?
Yeah.
You have the Street Fighter, what's his name, either Dalsim or Blanca or whatever, the old on the screen, and you have a person playing the video game.
Yeah.
I like to see myself as the guy with the controller, and someone's fighting, because he has the autonomy to do whatever he wants. But a fight, especially in MMA, it's a group. When I trained with Volkan, when he went to Valhalla in Denmark, we were two. He did the fighting, he did the hard part. But I can tell you, I was there all the time with him, and I hope I helped them in some way, and I hope I helped my students in some way when they're in trouble, just giving them encouragement when they need it, and trying to use my brain to help them get out of situations if they need that, just being whatever they need to be at that time.
Do you get mad or frustrated when they don't do what you tell them to do?
Mad, no, because it doesn't help. I would say I have gotten mad at one guy who just didn't listen and then blamed it on me.
Yeah, good job.
At a certain point, if you take a choice, you make a choice.
Yeah.
I'll never be against a choice, but you have to take responsibility for your choice.
Yeah.
And if your choice is wrong, I will help you get out of that situation.
Yeah.
There's no problem. My role as a coach is not a dictator; it's an advisor.
Yeah.
So you take the advice, you listen to it. If you want it, you take it. If you don't want it, if you think, hey, no, I can actually do this, because you're in the fight, you know something else. You have different information than I do, and I have different information than he does. So together is generally there's a right path in there. No one is 100% right. There's always different possibilities, and that's the beauty of BJJ, MMA, grappling, anything. It's a tree of possibilities.
Yeah. Every sort of different situation opens more possibilities.
Exactly, and there's no right or wrong.
No.
Because I remember my very first pro fight. I landed. It was actually in Zurich, and I think you were actually there as a commentator as well.
Oh, really?
I think so. So what happened was I got the guy mounted. I got in a mounted triangle.
Yeah.
And I had a choice. How do I make? Because I'm a nice guy.
Yeah.
Everyone knows me as a nice guy.
Yeah.
And I am a nice guy.
You are.
And when I fight, I try being a nice guy as well. And I've lost many BJJ fights because I was a nice guy. And this time I was mounted, and this was going through my head. I was like, okay, mounted in a locked triangle.
Yeah.
Okay, how do I make him tap, or how do I make this fight stop quickly and as painlessly as possible? I'm like, okay, I can do the triangle. I can ground and pound him, or I can hit him with lots of little flurry of punches, so the ref might think that he's being overpowered and stop the fight.
Yeah.
And I chose that last one, saying, okay, if that goes wrong, I still have my triangle.
Yeah.
So, as I said, there's three possibilities. None were wrong, because I could have submitted him in the triangle, I could have punched him really hard, or I just chose the ref, you know. And what happened was, in the end, the ref stopped the fight. If you look at the video, I did hit I'm sorry to all the girls out there, hit like a girl, because I didn't know how to strike really. But yeah, so there's no right or wrong. As we were saying, it's just a tree of possibilities.
I remember that fight, and I remember the situation. I was thinking, why doesn't he just punch the living shit out of that guy? Because
yeah, it's my nice guy syndrome. You know, it's holding me back from you know, it's in a way, and that's a situation I have. I talk with lots of people about. It's in a way, it's human nature to fight, but it's against civilized human nature to punch someone nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, and I have a very strong barrier to that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something that can be pushed back. Now, the ethical question is, should it be pushed back?
Yeah.
If you have the choice between punching someone and submitting him, wouldn't the more civilized solution be submitting? I don't know. It's a question out there, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the type of thing, that's the type of person I am. I'll ask myself that question, but I'll ask it during the fight and before, and maybe that's a problem. And I want to make people think.
Yeah.
That's what I like doing. I like showing people that there's not one way of looking at a situation. If I can inspire them, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
If not, you know, if they hate me for a certain reason, great. I'm making them think. You know, I want to make them think. Why do they hate me? Why do they like me?
Yeah.
What is he trying to teach? You know?
Yeah. I think the referee of that fight, wasn't that Alistair Overeem?
For that, he was in the evening. I think it was the fight before. Unfortunately, I didn't have him as a ref. I had another guy.
But
yeah, but I remember Overeem was his 83 kilo self.
Yeah,
guy.
Yeah, he was a normal guy, and only the super nerds knew who he was, and now look at him now. It's all horse meat.
Yeah, he's not the same guy anymore.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. You got your black belt. When was that? Like a year or 2 years ago?
Last year. It was last year. Actually, I was working for the London 2012 Olympic Games.
Yeah.
I was working for the International Olympic Committee in London at the time, and I trained in London during my architecture studies. I was there for 9 months. I got to know a teacher called Eduardo Cariello, really good friend of mine, good BJJ guy, great teacher. He changed a lot of my game. He gave me lots of tips and was always there for me. And so, yeah, whenever I'm in London, I go say hi, I go train there. And he's the one who gave me my black belt. So it was August last year.
Was that unexpected that you got your black belt?
It was unexpected, not really. In a way, it was pending, let's put it that way. I was a brown belt for a long time.
Yeah.
Since 2008, I was a brown belt, which I received under Augusto Frota from Zurich.
Yeah.
And so I got it in, I think, November 2008 or something like that. And it was just pending. I had lots of reasons, I would say, like political reasons between clubs as we know exist. That made it end. I was in America. Liborio was talking about, so Ricardo Liborio, ATT head coach for the young guys who don't know.
Yep.
He was talking about giving it to me, but I was leaving, so I had to come back. But it was all circumstantial, and so I talked to him because he was another one of my good coaches who changed my BJJ and my MMA game a lot. So I talked to him. I was like, listen, this is happening. The guy, actually, Eduardo Caliado, was telling me, hey, man, why are you still a brown belt? This is not right. You don't have that level anymore. You need to change. Yeah. And I told him, just the political situation of clubs and families and, the whole shebang. And he's like, listen, man, I'll give it to you. Because I believe you are a black belt, and I don't think anyone can deny it. It might piss people off. It might make people happy. But that's not what it's about. You don't have to be the world champion to be a black belt. You're a good teacher. You've done a lot for BJJ, and you're doing a lot for BJJ in Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all. That's all part about being a black belt as well. So I called up Liborio, told him about it, and he's like, "Man, I'm sorry, it couldn't be me. Go for it." And that's how I got it. So it was unexpected in a way. In a way, it was just pending there.
Yeah. What went through your mind, like, when you got your black belt? Was that like a culmination of all these years of hard training, or was it just like...
It was actually crazy. When I got it, in a way, I would have loved to get it from my own students.
Yeah.
Because it would have been just nice to get it in Switzerland. It was awesome getting it in London in front of my teacher that I really respect and that I've been through a lot. What happened, I was just happy. Honestly, it was one of those things, there's some martial arts where you can get a black belt. I got a black belt when I was 7, or 8. I got a Taekwondo black belt. Great. It doesn't mean much when at that age. It was maybe just something just like that, for fun. And lots of martial arts, a black belt doesn't mean that much. But in BJJ, it means a lot, first of all. And second of all, what happened, it changed my game. It's crazy to say that. I don't know what happened, and I've told lots of people about it. When I put on that black belt and I started training with that black belt, with my students, with other people, something just clicked. Something just let go, like I was talking about before. And honestly, my level went up. It went up a notch.
Mm-hmm.
Be it just because I had no more stress, because in Switzerland people were talking bad about, he's just a brown belt, who is he, this gringo, and then I got the black belt, an official black belt, I worked for it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like, I can just tell everyone, hey, listen, you like me, don't like me, this is what it's all about. Now there's some respect. I don't know, something happened, and everything let go, and when I train, I don't know, they talk about, there's different sports, there's different situations where you just feel things, and I started feeling BJJ once again, and I just felt the moves, and I saw the moves. It was really crazy. The first couple of weeks when I was training back home, every sparring was slow motion, and I was moving quickly, so I could just see everything happening. It sounds really crazy, and you're gonna start calling the doctors on me and stuff like that. But it's true. Something happened. I cannot explain it. Something happened. I told my friend Michelle about it, Michelle Nicolini.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I can understand that. Something, when you have a big stressful situation and something goes away and you don't have that pressure on your back, you just feel good. You can start breathing again. Well, I guess something like that happened as well.
Yeah.
And it was awesome because the first black belt I actually trained with was during a seminar, and it was actually a Cyborg. He was the first black belt I trained with as a black belt.
Cyborg.
So that's actually quite awesome.
Yeah, that's very awesome.
And the second one was Michelle. So I just accumulated, the BJJ superstars, and I was like, this is so cool. And I got there by myself because I wasn't helped. I had lots of teachers in my career. Let's put that in, inverted commas, career. I didn't do much, but in the last 15 years, I've had lots of teachers. They've helped me a lot. But I went there and I did it myself. No one was easy on me. So something did happen. Something clicked.
Does having a black belt come with a lot of responsibility and also pressure?
If you let it, I would say it does. Pressure because you have to represent the sport. Yeah, because you have then moral obligations, you do, ethical obligations, you do, towards your students, towards anyone else. You can mess up. There's no problem. It's being human. You're not superhuman just because you have a black belt.
Yeah,
that's for sure. So if you just have to choose your path, and I believe you have to be a symbol for others, an image for others. But that's no matter what you do in general. Just as a black belt, people look up to you a bit more. The white belt that comes in says, "Oh, he's the black belt. Okay, he's the teacher."
Yeah.
Monkey see, monkey do, in a way. So, you have to be at the top level. Not necessarily BJJ. You can be a good teacher. You don't have to be a superstar. You don't have to be a world champ. But you have to be a model for others, and be it just being nice to people, being correct, being nice to animals, anything, just being a model citizen is also something good,
Absolutely. I was asking other teachers that it's strange in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or in martial arts, in traditional martial arts. It's not like in boxing. Boxing, you have like old coaches and they know a lot about boxing, but nobody would expect them to beat you. But
Yeah.
in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you see a black belt and you expect the black belt to win against anybody who is not a black belt. Why is that?
I would say there might be lots of ego involved.
Yeah.
There might be lots of ego involved, but I think it's wrong. I believe, and it's hard because I feel myself as well. When there's a new guy that comes in, you don't necessarily want to lose. Or
Yeah.
if you go to another club, you don't want to lose.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, people are going to start second guessing my belt or second guessing my school,
Yeah.
teacher. There's all that stuff that comes in. But listen, I mean, if you have a black belt and you don't train, a guy who's a purple belt can come in who's 100% training. I have this situation right now.
Yeah.
I give classes. I don't train for myself.
We lost you for a second here. You were talking about when a purple belt, about a purple belt. Yeah.
Exactly. I have that situation right now. I was saying because I don't, I teach. I don't train myself. And Michel Nicolini's boyfriend Philippe actually came, and he's an awesome purple belt. He was just training. He's young. He wants it. He's at his prime, and he comes in and gives me trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's awesome. And it's just because the more you train BJJ, the cleaner your moves get.
Yeah.
And a white belt, and that's what's awesome as well. A white belt who trains a certain move and becomes an expert in that move, even though he doesn't know all the concepts about BJJ and stuff like that, he can get you with that move. A white belt can't a black belt. There's absolutely no problem, and it will happen. Because he'll invent some way, he'll think of something a certain way that's different, and so there's absolutely no problem about that, and I think it has to do with training. But to come back to your initial question, I think, BJJ might just have this mentality of black belt means superstar, but it's not true. It shouldn't be true, but it's hard. We're all human, you know what I mean?
What kind of responsibility comes with having like a school, running a school like you do?
Being there. That's a very big responsibility. You can talk to my girlfriend about that. BJJ school. I try never missing class.
Yeah.
I try being there all the time. If class starts at 8:30, I want to be there 8:20, just to be sure that everything runs the way I want it to run. That's one of the responsibilities, giving the students what they want, making them happy, teaching them. That's another responsibility, making accepting people, girls, guys, young, big, small, old. It just, you have to be there. You have to give yourself 100% or just do it, And it's hard, it's hard always keeping the motivation to go.
Yeah.
But, then the student comes up to you and says, hey, thanks a lot for doing this, or thanks a lot for being a teacher and stuff like that. And there you go. That's the energy you need just to keep going.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a major responsibility. And you have to like it, If you don't like it, don't do it. And I think I like being a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And people say I'm not too bad at teaching or being a coach. So I just give them everything that maybe I wanted to have when I was a kid,
What's the first thing you teach when a guy comes in?
The first thing, teach him. What do I teach him? Well, if a new guy comes in, it's a small little story. A new guy, we all basically before class, we all line up, and we introduce the new people to all the old people. All the people who are there for a long time, and I always make the same joke. Yes, hello, I don't know. Hello, Johnny. Nice to meet you. Okay, Johnny, this is his first time on the mat, so everyone knows what they have to do. We have to break him, and hurt him. And so, it makes everyone laugh, and everything feels good.
Yeah.
And that's how it starts, And then from there on, it's just showing slight moves, making him have fun. On those type of days, I try doing lots of games, so we slowly but carefully get into the tune of moving, because you can see people who've never done martial arts, they have a different vision of their own body. And so you just teach them fundamentals and tell them that no matter what he does, make him think about other things. Like when we're doing takedowns, it's like, hey man, have you ever seen a rugby player? Or have you ever played with your brother?
Yeah.
Try putting him on the floor? Well, that's what you're going to do. Just take him to the floor, keep it simple, and you just have to stay on top. Let's play that game.
Yeah.
And so it's simple games. That's what I would say. And then slowly but carefully, by showing details, my classes are a lot about details. They'll start thinking by themselves. I try getting people to start thinking by themselves, and then they'll come up with questions. And all the other guys actually seeing that I'm quite open with the teaching. It's not like I'm not the dictator. Anyone can teach whatever they want. Anyone can bring their ideas to hey, I have this. So they learn by putting people together who want to learn. The whole group comes up. I don't cut beginners from advanced.
Yeah.
So the beginners can teach the advanced can teach the beginners. So everything kind of grows by itself. So that's basically how a beginner starts.
Do you also teach children?
I don't have a children's class, but right now I have taught children, and I'm actually teaching this 14-year-old. Maybe it's not a kid yet, or older than a kid, teenager, 14-year-old judo player, who is quite good on the Swiss level. And she understood that judo is not only about throwing people, it's also about continuing on the ground. And she wanted to learn how to submit people and not to be submitted. So I'm helping her out in her judo career to learn the ground game. But teaching kids for the moment, I just don't have the time. I have a full-time job. I have two classes a week, plus an open mat sometimes on weekends, and it's hard to get everything going.
Now, if I would know nothing about jiu-jitsu and I would ask you, what is it? How would you explain it to me in a few sentences?
In a few sentences? Okay, you don't know jiu-jitsu. Do you know judo? I would say, you see judo? You start standing and you go to the floor. Well, it's like judo, but you continue fighting on the ground.
Okay.
Keep it really simple. And I would say maybe a word like grappling sport, or like a wrestling type of sport. There's no striking. I would say something like that. I would go down the judo line, because that's where it actually comes from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Starts in the kimono, you start standing. If you're a good judo player, you have good stand-up, and then you go to the ground, and you just continue going on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you prefer?
And then if you're talking to a kid, or if you're talking to someone, I would take the example, hey, you know what you do on the playground?
Yeah.
And you're a kid?
Yeah.
You're like 2? Well, it's in a very...
What's your favorite submission? And we lost you again.
Vladdy?
Yeah.
Now I can hear you. I can hear you again.
Okay, we lost you for a second. I was asking you, what is your favorite submission?
Well, let me see. I have to think very hard. Oh, a triangle. Everyone knows me for a triangle. I love the triangle.
You love the triangle? Why?
I don't know. It actually started off when I was a kid. I liked arm bars, and I don't remember how it happened, but triangles. I see triangles everywhere. And no matter what position, it comes up, and I tell myself, let's not do it. And it comes up, and someone gives it to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, man, I can't refuse a present. It's always told that, be polite, accept the presents that people give you. So I take the triangle, and there you go. And, why? I don't know. It just seems natural. I have flexible hips, so I can move. I have a flexible back, so I can come over the top. And people say I have strong legs, so I guess that's what it's all there for.
Cool stuff. Talking about submission, we have IBJJ, and they have rules and some sort of a point system, and where you can win on points. And then there are the new submission-only tournaments. What's your opinion on that?
I think they're two different styles of fighting. I'm not against points. It gives a whole different tactic to the game. Submissions are good, though. It makes someone develop a certain type of game. The problem in the submission-only matches, tournaments in general, is people have forgotten about the human wanting not to lose.
Yeah.
So instead of not winning. Okay, I don't win, but I didn't lose.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the big issue. And people start stalling. I think the submission matches would be awesome if you had stalling points. You don't move for 20 seconds, you get a minus point. You know, so the only points that would be there would be minus points, I would say, if you do a submission only. But I'm not against either. You know, I think point games are good. I would also install stalling points on stalling penalties on IBJJ matches a lot stronger, because what people do then tactically is they get an advantage or they get 2 points and they block the game.
Yeah,
that's the point. You know, the point is to fight. The point is to try things. And obviously, I've blocked the game before. I've never blocked a game for 9 minutes of match, or 10 minutes, or 5 minutes. But I blocked it for a minute or 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's tactics. I think there's a fine line between tactics and stalling and blocking the game.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely, exactly. You know, I'm asking this because there's this tournament or this thing called Metamores, and they have like high level black belts fighting each other, and it's a submission only thing. But it's very hard for them to submit the other because they are so high level.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I saw Metamores too on live stream here in Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's lots of, when you put two people that are awesome, one against another, it's going to be a hard game. And at a certain point, when you look at BJJ or grappling, everything is just a centimeter. A centimeter can make you win or lose.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, maybe people need to have an incentive to win, or incentive to go for submissions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the point system, maybe there should be a point system in a way that every submission attack, a real attack, would be awarded, a point. So if you're down, you have to attack to win. You can't just take some risks. You can't just block the game. Or, and at a certain point, it could be something like that. I don't know. There has to be a solution, because we saw some matches which are just horrible, in a way, horrible to watch. Because at the end of the day, a Metamores will work if people watch it. If no one watches it, it's just going to go down the drain. So it's an event, an event works on spectators. If the spectators don't understand what's happening, or if the spectators just find it boring, you're not going to pay for it a second time, and unfortunately that's what happened with Metamores too. I'm a hardcore fan, but I'm not sure if I'm going to go buy the Metamores 3, Unfortunately, it was really hard to watch that.
Yeah.
It was just really boring.
Well, maybe you don't have to pay. There are ways around it, and you can still watch it. But yeah. No, I was exactly. I was watching Metamores 1, and I thought like it's a great idea. But then you didn't. You saw the occasional submission, but not too much. Okay, so they changed the rules, and they said, okay, there's going to be some judges, and they're going to award a winner. And I was thinking like, okay, this is going to change the whole game, because now people are going to think, okay, I don't have to submit the other guy. I can just play the points game, and
exactly.
And
then it turns into the same old,
exactly,
same stuff as before.
Yeah,
nothing changed.
Nothing changes.
So I would keep the judges, but I would make the judges award penalty points and submission points.
Yeah,
I would do a submission only. I think what was it? I think it was the Rickson Budo Challenge, or one of those competitions in the back.
Yeah.
Many years ago, I think it was. Every time you attack the submission, you get a point.
Yeah.
You don't have point. I would take away, for those type of tournaments, I would take away position points.
Yeah.
I would go for submission points and penalty points. Penalty points is something that is not there enough. Even if you take away the submission points, I would make penalty points one of the first things I would put in any tournament, IJJF or grappling or BJJ.
Yeah.
I would penalty points. That's what's going to make the difference. It's not how many points you can get, it's how many points you can lose, which is important.
This is actually a very good idea. I was thinking, like, how can we change this problem? But that's actually a very good idea. You just get points for attempting submissions, or you get minus points for stalling, or just keep in the same position. That's awesome.
And I would actually put in judges, because some judges will see things differently, but I wouldn't put one judge. I would put like they had in judo, the 3 judges, and everyone has to be okay. And then now they actually have it in IBJJF as well for like the semis and the finals, I think. the three judges have to, or the majority of three judges to be okay with a certain thing. And so, I would keep a human aspect to it because it's good. It's good for the sport. And, I would say, if I give a penalty point but the other two judges don't, well, then it's not there. If two out of three give it, well, there it is. It's a penalty point.
Yeah.
Or if it's an attack, because then people will say, yeah, but then there's fake submission attacks. Sure, there's fake submission attacks. But you have three judges who are then qualified, and you have to rely on their judges and their judgment. And if they see an attack, then there's attack. If they don't see an attack, then there's no attack. At a certain point, you have to trust the judges that you create.
Yeah, I think a pro can see a fake submission attempt.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, it just looks different.
It just looks different, and the reaction of the other guy is different as well.
Yeah, if he's not having a strange face, it's not working. Metamoris 3, we have the big rematch, Eddie Bravo versus Hoyle Gracie. What do you think about that?
Well, I think, first of all, I know people from Metamoris 2, the organizers won't necessarily like what I say, but I believe that it was presented in the wrong way. I think it was very disrespectful towards Eddie Bravo.
Yeah.
No matter what you think, it's a tournament is impartial.
Yeah.
And it was presented in a very partial way. Like Eddie Bravo, he's the guy who beat my uncle. That's why he's on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Even if it is that reason, you don't say that in public in front of people. That's not how you present two fighters.
Yeah.
That was my first comment about that. And I think it's going to be a good fight. Honestly, two different styles. Maybe there's history behind them because you never know what's real, what's not real. For the medias and not for the medias. It's going to be awesome. I think it can be awesome. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
If the problem with a Gracie fight in general is they have a legacy.
Yeah.
And losing a legacy is difficult.
Yeah.
So again, it comes down to the initial thing of protect my own self and my own legacy and my own family. So if they play the game of it doesn't matter, let's just do a good show, let's give it all we got, and leave it all out there on the mat, no matter how cheesy that sounds. If they do that, it's going to be awesome. If they play, in French you say petit bras, so small-armed, so they don't go for it, it's going to be boring. It's going to be one guy blocks, I won't attack because I might get something, I won't do this because I might get something. If you play with the might here, might there, might do this, it's not going to go anywhere. But if you start putting penalties, people start having to attack.
So do you think in that match we'll have some shenanigans going on by the Gracies?
No, I don't. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that they're going to try anything. They're going to throw the fight or they're going to cheat or whatever. No, I don't think that. I think they're complete, honest athletes.
Yeah.
No problem. But I think inside his head, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure about winning, about redeeming himself because he lost one fight. Everyone loses. You only learn by losing. That's something actually. My judo teacher, Sergei Ashvanden.
Sergei Ashvanden, yeah, famous guy.
Yeah, he's my judo teacher. We talked about it, and he was saying if you win, it doesn't mean you were better. It means the other guy didn't recognize your mistakes. And so if you lose, you recognize the mistakes of the other, and that's so true. And I think that's what keeps people back. And you can see that in lots of fighting styles. When someone's winning, he doesn't change his style. You see that in MMA fighters. Yeah, I won with my super big ugly punch, and it worked. But it doesn't work. It's just no one understood yet how to get out of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's good. And coming back to your initial question, I don't think the biggest problem is going to be that pressure, and not losing face in front of the world as a Gracie.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very hard and heavy burden that all of them carry.
Yeah.
And in a way, Eddie Bravo is more the type of person who, or I don't know him personally at all. He's the type of person to say, I'll go out there and give everything, and we'll see what happens, But then again, on the other side is like, okay, I did it once, let's do it again. I really want to prove who I am, And so that's the game. There's going to be a lot of interior quarrels between each other. I don't think it's going to be open. I don't think they're going to there's not going to be cheating. There's not going to be, below the belt moves. I don't think that at all, because that would be wrong. But I think inside everyone is putting themselves more pressure than they should. And like we were saying in the very beginning of the interview, was it holds people back, when you start thinking too much,
Yeah. I think
hopefully they won't hold back, and hopefully they'll just go for it.
Absolutely. I can see that the pressure is more on Royler Gracie because he was kind of like asking for that rematch, and he lost the first. If he would lose again, it would be like okay, well, Eddie Bravo is just a better guy. Now if Eddie Bravo loses, well, no big deal. He won the original match, and he beat Royler when Royler was the top guy. So
exactly.
I think
that's why. Yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree. So I think Royler has the pressure. The pressure of redeeming, and the pressure of, I think he has more to lose than, like you're saying. He has a lot more to lose than an Eddie Bravo. And having something to lose is difficult. Having nothing to lose is close to invincibility, if you want me to, If you want me to use that word.
Do you think they're going to test Eddie Bravo for weed?
Well, if they do something like that, that would be a below the belt move, But I believe they should. Everyone, for a Metamoris type thing, I would test everyone, honestly.
Yeah.
I work with the International Boxing Federation right now, and I work with anti-doping, and I completely agree with it. And I think the world of MMA, BJJ, and grappling, if you start doing a real testing scheme, it'll change a lot of things,
So do you say that a lot of people use PEDs in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition?
Yeah, everyone. Not everyone. That's an exaggeration on my part, but I believe a lot of people have a very good pharmacy.
Okay.
And in any way you want, But then, then there's extremes,
Yeah.
I've never taken anything.
Yeah.
I don't even take protein shakes. Because if you really want to push the idea, I was always taught, look at the extremes, and then something in between is right,
Yeah.
You look at one extreme, you're super doped and take everything, and it's bad for your health, and you're about to die every time you take a breath, On the other extreme, you can say that, eating a powder instead of having a steak is also doping, It's not natural. It's not normal. And then people start saying, yeah, but I take this powder, it just makes it easier to assimilate, or, my body can take it in easier. Well, if your body needed to take something in quicker, it would have found a natural way of doing it,
Okay. Well, I should say I take protein powder.
And they're both extremes,
Uh-huh. I just take it because I don't have time to cook a steak after training.
Obviously, but then, and I'm not saying it is. There's studies that have been done that it says that it doesn't actually bring anything else, because your body eliminates the whole rest and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I would understand that assimilation is quicker.
Yeah.
But, again, time is a natural issue.
Yeah.
That has to be taken into account.
Yeah.
If you really want to be natural. But then you go down in history, you go back to the ancient Greeks.
Yeah.
They were doping. They had certain herbal teas that stimulated, before competition. Before the old Greek Olympic Games, there was doping. It's always been there. It's a natural way of, So, and I believe nowadays it's just who has the step in front,
Yeah.
Who wants to close his eyes, because lots of things have doping, and there's just lots of money, power, politics involved. So we'll close an eye, because if we start losing our top guys, where is the organization? You know what I mean? We need a fight, and if these two guys are doped, well, we don't have that fight. Okay, so we won't test them, or we'll do a partial test, or we'll close our eyes on the results. Or I'm not saying this is happening, but if I can come up with an idea like this, it means someone else has as well. Because I'm not an intellectual person. I'm not an Einstein. I'm not a Nobel Prize winner. But if I can come up with it, someone else can.
Yeah.
And that means it's happening out there. And I believe that the list, like seeing that I work in the Olympic milieu, the Olympic list, which is one of the strongest, the WADA, World Anti-Doping Agency list, is one of the tightest lists. But, I want to know the lists have been made by people, and that means other people can look at the list and just invent a new thing before it. A better, more performant thing, and before it's on the list, well, people are using it.
Yeah.
Then it goes onto a list, and then you take the next step.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but in general, I would test everyone, every high level person. I would test them in and out of competition, because lots of doping is not only for competition or during competition; it's outside of competition.
Yeah.
And so that's my standpoint. I might be extreme, but I'm passionate about sports, and I've never taken anything like that. Losing against someone who is unnatural in a way is not cool. Is honestly not cool.
Now, there's the argument that the spectators or the fans of the sport are kind of hypocritical, because we demand more fights or more competition on a very high level and all that, but we don't want people to use PEDs. But the argument is that, well, if you want all this action going on all the time, then we kind of need to do that, because otherwise the body would not hold up.
Yeah, who said humans were smart? People also want high quality stuff very quickly and very cheap.
Yeah.
Those things are not compatible.
Yeah.
And again, elite sport is bad for the human body. Spectators who are not doing the elite sport, all they want is entertainment.
Yeah.
They don't really care, And they have this moral level of code of saying, "Oh, we want clean sport, but we want the highest level of clean sport."
Yeah.
But then when they get the highest level of clean sport, they're like, "This isn't that high at all.
Yeah.
We want higher." So they only get higher. Okay, they'll take some stuff, but we won't look at it. But because we want, and I think it's the education of the spectators that needs to be changed. And I don't think it can be, because we're only human, and it's never enough. We live in a consumer world, and we've come to consuming even entertainment. We just want more and more and more and bigger and bigger. And I'm not saying I'm any different. I want to see high level. I'm against doping. I would say, personally, in this example, I would say bring down the notch. Bring it down a notch, because the level will still be incredible. It will still be incredible, because I don't think a powerful, super muscular guy who can't go more than half a round is incredible. Even if he knocks someone out in those 30 seconds, if he can't go 2 rounds, well, he's not good.
What about people who say, like, okay, well, PEDs are just it's just an evolution. It's just some kind of like it's like training. Before, people were not lifting weights. They didn't go to high equipped gyms and all that. They were just running around. They're doing all sorts of body weight exercises, and the training evolved, and so is PED. Yeah, kind of like.
I would say that again, if you start doing that, the fundamentals of a sport, I would say, is not to harm your body.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what people say, taking shit, no matter what it is, it's bad for your body. It's, even if it makes your performance go up, you will pay for it afterwards. In 20, 30 years, we don't know. We don't have the distance to actually know what all the stuff that's being taken actually does.
Yeah.
We know that taking steroids can give you cancer. It can give you renal failure. It can give you diabetes.
Yeah.
When you get off of it, you get depressed, which will then imply certain other things. So I think, honestly, people can say it is a valid argument. It's a valid. Everyone's on it, so let's just do it, and then let's see who has the best pharmacy. But then it goes. Then you start looking at a sport, an example where they took it to a limit was swimming. The swimmers didn't have anything, and then they took, they had the whole body suit, and then they had the shark fin suit, and they started seeing, as the swimmers weren't getting any better, but the technology, which I'm saying in the end, pharmacy is technology as well.
Yeah.
The technology behind it was going to such a level that the human being was getting was beating records that a human being couldn't beat. Yeah. And so they said, okay, this is wrong. This is not what the sport is about. The sport is to see who is the best swimmer, not who has the best, who has the most money to pay for the best suit, who will then, who has the best sponsor, or, it's not that. That's not the sport. The idea behind the sport, initially, even in MMA, was to see which one is the best martial art.
Yeah.
Not which one is the best martial art and who has the best pharmacy.
Yeah.
So I would say, and then what happened to swimming? Well, they banned the shark skin suits, and now they banned the small speedos. And what you see is all the world records, all the European records, or at least the Olympic and the world, they can't be beaten anymore. They were achieved at a level no one can beat them. So the big problem is, do you cut them? Do you redo them? There's always implications.
Yeah.
But and so I would go back to the fundamentals. What is MMA for? If it's for the entertainment, that's one thing.
Yeah.
If it's for the sport, that's another thing. And I think it depends on whose seat you're in. If you're in the athlete, you want to know if you're better than the other guy. You want to know if what you learned is effective.
Yeah.
As the entertainment guy, you're like, as the promoter, you want to sell seats.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you start having athletes that are getting injured because of taking too much stuff, or your roster starts dying, and then what do? Okay, well, is it just a product? You are dealing with humans, So there's ethical questions there, and then there's also education to be done with the people who are watching, because what are they watching for? Is it just, because I'm not strong enough to go beat someone up, so I'll watch two people beat each other up? Is it beating people up? Is it a sport? And so I want to see the technical side behind it. So if I want to see the technical side behind it, why do I want to have pharmacy involved? Because it masks the technicity of it. So all these questions are actually out there for grabs. I don't have the answer, but I think people should start thinking about it, because choices have to be made, and you have to think about the consequences of each choice.
Yeah, I also believe if you would legalize it, people would just go overboard. They would just go crazy.
Imagine, and if you have one person, okay, just take this as an example. Okay, I take lots of shit, and I'm going to fight, and I don't know what the shit does to me, but it makes me super strong.
Yeah.
But what I don't know is that it messes, my heart up or something, and I die on the ring.
Yeah.
There goes the sport.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And that's what's going to happen. You legalize it, or some guy's going to go to the top. One guy dies. Imagine one guy dies on the ring of the UFC, and they clean it not towards an anatomical malfunction, but to a doping product.
Yeah.
Imagine what happens to the sport. So why go there? Again, it's the human nature to go to the limit, pass the limit, and say, "Oh shit, we went too far. Let's go back."
Yeah.
So, and it's like a kid. It's like you tell him, "Don't touch the fire. Don't touch the fire." He has to touch the fire, to find out for himself.
Damn.
So maybe that's the thing. We're humans, and we're dumb animals. We're the dumbest animals out there.
Yeah, I don't know if you read about that they were doing a study. I think it was in high school, and where they were asking the guys, if you could choose, like you could take steroids or PEDs, and you could have and you would be a star in the sport, but it would cap off 20 years off your life. Would you still do it? And the majority of the kids said yes, they would still do it.
Now, okay, that's the one thing. Capping off 20 lives, okay, I live until 80, I'll live until 60, but I'll be a billionaire. Okay. Now, if you, again, go to the extreme, maybe that wasn't extreme enough. Say, listen, you take that, you'll become impotent, you won't have kids, you start becoming senile, and you start losing your mind at 35 or 40.
Yeah.
Or you start having to piss through a bag, or get your on dialysis when you're 40. People start thinking differently, I think.
I think all you have to do is tell the guys, if you take that, your dick's gonna be is gonna shrink, and that's it. That's the argument.
No, I mean, there you go. I mean, lots of people, and it does. There are products
Absolutely.
that make you impotent, or that make you, sterile.
Anything else? Yeah, anything else? I don't care. I think they wouldn't care. Like, oh, your heart is not good, or oh, you. I don't care. But oh, my dick shrinks. No, that's not cool.
Exactly. But then, what would you tell the women?
Well, I don't know.
Well, maybe women, they'll become sterile, you know, they won't have kids, and maybe that will be enough for them.
And it just,
But yeah, I mean, I think, again, like I was just saying, people are dumb, you know, and they put, I think at a certain point, you don't value what they got, you know, they always want more. The grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, you know, and it always is, and that's another human nature fact, you know, that we always look on the other side of the grass, what if, and myself as well, myself included, you know.
I think a big aspect is also money. I mean, you're a professional in the sport, and you probably struggle a little bit, and you win some, but you lose also some, and and so the temptation is there. You know, if you take something, it just maybe kicks you over the edge a little bit, and you win more than you lose, and you earn more money. And money.
No, definitely. I think that's a major factor. When you take nothing to take against Brazil. They're just they're a developing country, getting up there. They have lots of, you know, there's lots of poor people there.
Yeah.
And so to get out of a favela or to get out of a, you know, even in America, you have some really poor areas. To get out of there, you know, the only way you can do is fight. And if you have to fight to get more money, you start taking things because you need to win, you know, and to win, to pay your bills, to pay for school for your kids, to pay for food. You know, pay for housing. And like you say, it's a different game when you start thinking about that, because you are trying to survive. And then 20 years or 30 years off your life doesn't mean anything, because you might not survive that long if you don't take that.
Yeah.
And it puts a different perspective. And I think it's a very important perspective to look at. You know, it has to do.
And he's gone again. Are you still there?
Can you hear me?
We lost you for a second. There you go.
Yeah?
You're back.
I was saying, can you hear me now?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was saying that it has to do with education again, and I think, you know, you have to take into account that, but I don't think you know, not everyone can be an athlete. It's an honor to be an athlete. Yeah. It's an honor to fight. It's an honor to do any type of sport, you know, and some people, you know, there are inequalities in life, and we are very fortunate here in Switzerland, and I'm one of those very fortunate people. There's less fortunate people in the world, and they have to have the opportunity, but not everyone will make it, and that's a hard fact of life. And you know, even in rich areas, you know, in Switzerland, how many people want to become the next UFC fighter, and how many people will actually become the next UFC fighter? You know, there's a big difference. There's a big difference in what people want and what people will get. You know, and again, human nature is wanting. You know, and at a certain point, you have to accept, you know, that you might have to do something else. And it's hard. It's a hard choice, and it's a hard, you know, law of nature. You know, not everyone can make it, and especially being an athlete. An athlete is, no matter what sport. MMA is a very difficult sport. To be a top athlete is very difficult. Lots of sacrifice. You know, and I honestly believe you can be at the top level and be clean. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot harder than anyone else. You know.
Yeah.
But I'm not in favor of taking the easy way out just to take an easy way out. You know, because you'll pay for it. Somewhere down the line, you'll pay for it.
Absolutely. You were mentioning your job. You studied being an architect, but you work for the Olympic Committee. I'm not sure.
Okay, I did my university studies. I was at Polytechnicum in Lausanne, the ETH Lausanne. I studied architecture for 6 years. I worked for 1 year, and I found out it wasn't the life I wanted to be. I mean, I love architecture, but it just closed too many facets of my personality.
Yeah.
And so I chose to stop that. I entered into a second degree. I did another degree in sports management.
Yeah.
Again at ETH, ETH Lausanne, which was created in part by the International Olympic Committee. Coming out of that studies, I had worked for the IOC, International Olympic Committee, during a group project. They wanted me to continue on that project, actually. And I was lucky enough to work at the Olympic Games, and from there I continued working. I found a job at the International Boxing Association, and I've been working there for almost a year now. So I'm actually a competition manager at the International Boxing Association. So I organize boxing events, the international boxing events, the World Championships. Men this year are the juniors. I have the women's junior and youth. I'm organizing the men's elite. And then as we get closer to Rio 2016, I'll be helping to organize the Olympic qualifiers and eventually, hopefully, the Olympic Games, the boxing Olympic Games.
What do you mean by organizing? You the guy in charge who organizes the whole thing, or?
I'm working in the sports department of the International Boxing Association. And so what we do is, for every big organization, there's a local organizing committee. So those are the people on site. When we like right now, the next competition is going to be in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So you have Ukrainian people who know, they have the venue. They have to talk to the venue and stuff like that, and get the visas and things. And we supervise them. We say, listen, don't forget about this. Don't forget about this. Have you looked at this aspect of the competition? What are the hotels like? The teams need this and this and this. Make sure they have it. The officials, they need this and this and this. Make sure they have it. And then when competition time comes, we go on site and we're there dealing with every problem. Where the boxers, they don't have enough water. Get them water. We need this. We need more equipment. We need less equipment. We need this. And and so we organize in a way. And that way we supervise and we organize when we need.
That's an awesome job. You organize boxing events, and then you can travel and you watch boxing matches, and you got to get paid for that?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It's awesome. Now imagine I'm hoping maybe one day to get involved in an MMA. After I want to work in the boxing until at least Rio, because it's just an awesome. I want to do an Olympic cycle. But hopefully later on, I can use my experience to I don't know, consult or work with MMA somehow, because it's cool. Events are cool, but as a person myself, I love events. But I also like teaching. I like being with elite athletes.
Yeah.
So giving my knowledge back to society in a way. So maybe hopefully one day I'll get in somehow like that, or do the same eventing in for the UFC, or now they have the international MMA federation that's coming up.
Yeah.
So maybe try to get a foot in there somehow. I don't know. I have experience. I have lots of experience, and I'm getting more and more. So hopefully I can help out somehow. I've always tried helping out in different competitions and giving ideas here and there, and going, doing as well. I coached and I reffed at some competitions. So and I want to continue doing that.
MMA in the Olympics, that's just crazy talk, no?
Yeah, it's never going to happen.
Why?
I don't think it's going to happen because, first of all, it has to be available for everyone, which could be, you can tell me, okay, MMA could be everywhere. It's an event that's seen by kids who are 4 years old to adults that are 90 years old.
Yeah.
And it's too hard. It's too hardcore as a sport for the Olympics. They would have to denature the rules to be able to get into the Olympics. Again, why does MMA work at the moment? Why is the UFC working? Because it's a private-owned company and they can make money off of everything.
Yeah.
The moment it goes Olympic, you don't have, that's why BJJ is not going to go Olympic either. There's too much, it's too lucrative at the moment to go into that. And if it happens, it'll be in a long time, because there's not enough, there's nothing organized yet, To go into the Olympics, there's a huge list of criteria that have to be fulfilled. I think you have to have at least 50 nations, and in those nations, you have to have at least, I don't know how many thousands of practitioners. You need to have rules, you need to have sanctions, you need to have everything laid out for every level of development of the sport, and things like that. And so I think that's going to take some time.
What about wrestling being cut from the Olympics? Maybe. What's going on over there?
Let's say that it's a funny situation. I'm not going into details, but I predicted that was happening. Okay, I predicted. I had worked with the International Wrestling Federation I told them, I advised them, listen, you need to change these couple of things. It didn't happen. They didn't listen to me. And basically what happened is people misunderstood why it got cut.
Yeah.
It didn't get cut because wrestling is a bad sport. Everyone knows about wrestlers, and it was there from the very beginning. And you saw all the hype on Facebook and on everything, every social media, and it's about, how can you cut the sport? No, again, there's Olympic principles. There's Olympic rules to be an Olympic sport. If you don't fulfill those rules, which are also at an organizational level, you're not allowed to, you have to be completely transparent. You need to have certain types of rules. People need to understand what they're watching. Because again, the Olympics, they work because they're spectators. They work because they sell TV rights. If a sport is not being watched or people don't understand or it's just boring, I'm not saying wrestling is boring, far from that, but if a sport is boring, people don't watch it, then you have a problem. You need to evolve with the time. And I think wrestling didn't evolve at a federation level, at an organizational, administrational level. And I think IOC was right to cut it, to say, hey, listen, no one is secured. Everyone can be cut.
Yeah.
I personally believe that wrestling is going to come back on. It was just a warning. It was a warning, and it was they needed to choose someone to make a Joan of Arc of,
Yeah.
And that's what wrestling was. And I firmly believe that's coming back on. But what happened from the time it was cut to it's being decided in September if they're back on or not. Until then, what happened? The administration changed. The old president changed. They changed their type of they changed the rules, I believe. They changed the way that it's going to be filmed. They changed all those things inside.
Yeah.
All that because they were scared of losing their position as an Olympic sport.
Yeah.
They had to be put into that position to make people move their asses.
Yeah. So could you go into specifics, like what kind of problem, what kind of rules do they need to change, or?
I'm not sure about the rules because I haven't looked up to it. I know what they had to change. They had to change the governance on the inside. They had to make the sport more dynamic because when you saw Greco-Roman wrestling, at a certain point people didn't understand. It wasn't spectacular. There weren't big throws. It was losing popularity. So the number of countries that are practicing the sports was diminishing. You only had a high level of Eastern European countries. That was the main basis of where the wrestling was good. Also, like there's the Middle East, obviously, but it was losing popularity. So something had to be done. The governance on the inside was an aging population. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Which you see in many international federations. You have old school people at the top. And everyone, when you talk to anyone's parents, they don't understand nowadays society, and that's what happens. But you need to evolve, And the federations that are doing well, I take, for example, basketball. Basketball is super dynamic. It's grown with the time, Volleyball, International Volleyball Association is doing very well as well. Canoeing, it feels like, why canoeing? Who knows about canoeing and kayak? They're doing really well. They're really clean, really good. Archery in 2012, archery was amazing.
Yeah. And
you're like, who cares about archery? But they're doing something right. They're dynamic. They want to get things going. And I think that was the problem with wrestling. They were sitting back saying, we were an original Olympic sport. We're never going to get cut.
Yeah.
And when people they don't have the pressure of being cut, well, why would you have to evolve,
So we kind of have to read this as kind of like as you said, like a warning signal. Like, guys, you need to change right now or we're really going to cut you.
No, exactly. And I think it's a warning to everyone saying that, sports change over time. No one can sit back and relax. You have to keep moving, keep going. And you can see it. You can see it in all sports. And if I go back to MMA, you can see styles. It's the same thing in styles. You have a style that's predominant until someone says, okay, I'm going to take this style and I'm going to make it newer.
Yeah.
And then he starts beating up the old style.
Yeah.
And then the old style has to take the new style into account and say, okay, this guy is taking out, he broke my game. So I need to be smart enough to create a new game that will break his game.
Yeah.
And that's what we call evolution, you know?
Absolutely. So would you say that like a modern day MMA guy like John Jones, he would beat up the old guys?
Definitely. Definitely. Unfortunately, you could see that happen, you know? At the very beginning, Royce beat everyone.
Yeah.
Because he was there. He was the technical fighter.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he didn't evolve as much as the newer fighters did. And, you know, when he started fighting people like Matt Hughes and stuff like that, he started losing because he was still using the style that he had used to win against the initial people.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that was one of his big mistakes. And you have to, everyone's evolving. When you look at a mixed martial artist back in UFC 1 and 2, they were purists. You know, you had the Kung Fu guy who did Kung Fu. You had the striker who was a pure striker.
Yeah.
How many pure martial artists do you have nowadays? I would dare to say none. You know, everyone touches a bit of wrestling, a bit of striking, a bit of BJJ at different levels. You have people who prefer striking, but they know BJJ. Or they are BJJ, and they know how to throw a punch. You know, so honestly, I think nowadays mixed martial arts is, you know, you need to mix the martial arts, you know. And I'm not saying you start with MMA. I say you start with a certain type, you start as a clean purist, and then you add other things to it, and you mix, you know.
Is it safe to say that that mixed martial arts now is kind of like a martial art in itself?
In French, there's a nice difference between art martial, a martial art, and a sport de combat.
Yeah.
You know, and a combat sport. Let's put it that way. I do not believe MMA is a martial art.
Yeah.
I believe it's a combat sport.
Yeah.
And I believe it's a mixture of existing combat sports and martial arts. But I wouldn't go down the way of saying martial art, but I would say that it's becoming an independent discipline. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. Because you can be a very, very good wrestler and a very, very good striker. If you don't know how to link the two, then you won't necessarily be as performant in MMA. And if you look at the very good MMA fighters, they know how to link, you know, the transitions is what's really important. You know, you can be a mid-level of everything. If you know how to put them all together, you might be able to beat a high level of one of them, you know, or someone who doesn't know how to do those transitions.
So what do you tell a guy who says, like, I don't need to learn anything before. I start with MMA because what's the point of learning how to box and then I have to box differently because in MMA you cannot box as like a boxer usually does?
I would tell him that you should try doing that and see what actually happens, you know, because it's not going to work. I firmly believe it's not going to work. Throwing a punch, you go to a specialist to be able to change, you know. If I don't know the base of a certain move, I won't be able to change it adequately. Yeah. You know, I need to know how to throw an uppercut to throw an MMA uppercut. Yeah. I need to know how to do a arm lock with a gi to be able to do it in MMA without a gi.
Yeah.
And I was when I went to America, I was a BJJ brown belt, and I started doing some MMA with some high level guys at ATT. Yeah, you know, BJJ for competition is not the same thing as BJJ for MMA. Yeah. But it was very different. You know, I got pounded. I can tell you, I got pounded. So I learned the hard way. But, you know, I need to have my base to be able to understand why it's not the same thing and how I need to adapt. You know?
Yeah. So we talked about rule changes in wrestling. What kind of rules would you change in MMA?
In where? Sorry, it just cut when you say.
Excuse me?
The question was cut. What rules would I change in what? In MMA?
Yes.
Or in
no, we were talking about rules being changed in wrestling, and my question was like, what kind of rules would you change in MMA?
What would I change in MMA? Well, the doping rules, as we talked about.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm quite happy with the rules. There's lots of talking about like eye gouging and stuff like that. Like it just happens, you know. At a certain point, there's no perfect sport, no perfect equipment either. I would say sometimes. No, honestly, I'm quite happy with it. I would say that there's always going to be haters about the rules. I would say people are really unhappy with the refereeing at the moment. But I believe that people are only human, and what you have to do is just, educate the refs. And I like seeing an early stoppage more than a late stoppage.
Yeah.
For example, again, because a late stoppage could injure, could end a career. An early stoppage will never end a career.
No.
It hurts the ego, and that's it, and maybe the purse. Okay, great. It's okay. I would, at a sporting level, the rules, I don't know. There's lots of cuts. That's the thing. Elbows. Maybe I would take off elbows on the ground.
Yeah.
Because there's too many. If you're cut and you lose the fight because of a cut, and unfortunately your skin is, not everyone's skin is the same. So some person will cut more than others. Did you actually lose the fight if you're cut?
Yeah.
Even a small cut that bleeds a lot. You get cut on your head, even if it's half a centimeter long, not even deep. It'll bleed, and it'll bleed, and so you'll be stopped. Okay, so maybe something there. I don't know. I would say something like that to stop the unnecessary injuries. But in the end, I think kicking and punching and maybe also again avoid stalling somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe do something with the rules that is more, the little ground and pound that doesn't actually do anything besides bother the other guy. Impressing the judges, I don't like the part of impressing the judges.
Yeah.
And we started to see lots of people, again, like we saw in Metamoris, they block the game. They know they're above, and so they'll hold it down and they'll do a fake ground and pound.
Yeah.
They won't take any more risks and stuff like that. Maybe do something to the rules that will make people move. I'm not saying you have to move all the time, but holding someone down and blocking the game for 3-4 minutes out of a 5-minute round is too much. Again, it's boring.
Yeah. What about some people argue about the rule, that the 3-point rule, like when are you actually a grounded fighter and when not? You saw like guys playing with it. They just put a few fingers on the floor because they don't want to get kneed. Would you change something about that?
No, I wouldn't change that. I like the fact that at a certain point you're not fighting until death.
Yeah.
So there has to be a safe zone somehow. And you're not safe when you have 3 points on the ground. Yeah, you're safe from being kneed to the head or kicked to the head. But you're not safe from a punch. You're not safe from a submission. It's a rule, Yeah. At a certain point, if you're good enough, if you only have 3 fingers on the ground, lift him up and then you knee him. He's not touching the ground.
Yeah.
Use the rules to your advantage, because at a certain point, these guys that are against it, I'm sure they haven't been in a position where they get kneed in the face when they have 3 fingers on the ground.
Yeah.
They might be the perfect song knee. And if they're ever once in a situation where they're getting kneed, they might want to have a situation where I want to be able to put my 3 fingers on the ground and not get kneed anymore.
Yeah.
So,
What about? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
What about some guys were arguing, like, if you would just leave out the gloves, then people would not hit as hard, and you would have probably like less knockouts and stuff like that. What about?
Go back to old school, like super old school.
Kind of like.
But even if you go back to really old school Greek times, they had some, they had hand wraps as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would definitely change the game if you take off gloves. But you would punch less. You would probably have more broken hands. So you would probably, those gloves are. I don't think those gloves are to stop a knockout punch. I think they're to stop from you breaking your hand.
Yeah.
More than anything else. And that's why you actually see, the cuts come from elbows.
Yeah.
Because the elbows aren't protected. So I'm not saying put on elbow protection, because then you start adding too much equipment and it might get blocked and stuff like that. But no, I would say keep the gloves. They're a good thing. Keep the gloves for your hands, and they still knock people out. So but yeah, definitely. If you take off gloves, if you start strapping it, taking off gloves, you'll start changing the game.
Yeah.
For it to be made, you will change the game. But again, if you take off the gloves, the entertainment is going to be different. It's going to be classified as a sport, because you're not protecting the athletes, because they are athletes. They're not mindless fighters.
Yeah.
Arguably, yeah, there are some mindless fighters out there, but it has to be sport, And we don't want to go back to UFC 1 and 2. That was the wrong image given to a sport.
Yeah.
And it should be the image of a sport. So people are safe, athletes are safe, the refs are clean, they wear gloves. It's a sport. Everything that comes with a sport should stay there and be maintained there.
GSP said recently that he would actually prefer to not have rounds. For example, to just fight 15 minutes, or championship, just fight 25 minutes straight. No breaks, no nothing.
It's a choice to be made. I think that would change the game as well. You would have people with a different cardio.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think, the thing is, you have to think about what happens in the rounds. Not on an athletic level, because obviously they get to recuperate, and therefore maybe the rounds will be more intense. The beginning of each round will be more intense. And if it's a 25-minute round, it'll be intense in the beginning and then slow down. Or you'll have what you have in 12-round boxing or 15-round boxing in the old days. You have the first round, the first couple of rounds, nothing happens. And then slowly but carefully something happens, and people will start winning for points in the very last round. And this might happen, so you'll have 20 minutes of nothing, as sometimes you see in ADCC matches. ADCC, you have nothing happening in the no points point, when there's no points for the first 10 minutes, and then the next 10 or 5 minutes, depending on the match, in the final, there's 10 minutes of no points, and then 10 minutes of points, where no one does anything and they want to win by one little point. And I think, I don't think it'll be necessarily that. I mean, it'll be awesome for the athlete. It'll change the sport. But entertainment-wise, which is why the sport exists, to sell the sponsors, I don't think they'll be very happy. Because what happens during that 1 minute break? You have it's sponsored by Bud Light, sponsored by whatever, the fight metrics, the fight things, all that happens in the 1 minute break. And that's where money comes in. And that's why the sport survives. You will open, the spectator will exactly take that time to go get his beer, and I'm not going to miss a minute of the fight. Well, I don't care about the inter rounds, and that's what things happen outside of the sport in that minute round. That's really important for a sport.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's very good argument. What about in Pride they judge the fight as a whole. Now in the UFC or in the unified rules of mixed martial arts, they just judge each round individually. Which one, in your opinion, is better suited for MMA?
I don't know really. It's a very interesting question. It's funny because we were actually talking about scoring systems and point systems and stuff like that for the Boxing Federation today. It's a very important issue. The way you score a fight, the way you score. I would say if you do the whole, you might actually have people stalling more. Because if you know you've been dominating for the last 10 minutes, you might stop for the whole last round. If you feel like you need to win a round, you will do more. If it's per round, I lost the first because I know I lost. I think I won the second, but I'm not sure. I have to give everything in the third because I need to win that round. Unless, okay, well, he's beaten me for the last 2 rounds, and it's on the total. I mean, I'm going to lose. The only way I can win, is a knockout. Okay, I'll go for it, but it's going to be difficult. I think there has. It's a valid point. It's a valid point because you can argue either really. I think it's easier to do per round, I would say. Because how do you judge overall? You can be influenced afterwards. You can go back on. You would basically what you're saying is having a 10-point must system and counting all the points at the very end of the round. Who has the most points wins. I mean, it's valid. I don't know. I think you might have to try both and see which one works best.
I think it's more difficult for a referee. I mean, how can you remember something that happened about 25 minutes ago? I mean, you will remember the thing that happened 3 minutes ago. So
I think,
it
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I think basically what you would have to do, you would have to grade, if you want, or score each individual round at the end of each round.
Yeah.
But you don't say you win the round. I think you would then add all the scores,
Okay.
But the problem with something like that, at the end of the 3 rounds or 5 rounds, you would say, okay, it was a 10-9, 10-8, 8-7, whatever, and then you add it, and the guy with the most points wins. But you might have some crazy results like that.
Yeah.
People who think they were dominating, but they didn't land the strikes and they lost by 1 point. Even though they dominated 2 rounds, but the last round was they got a couple of knockdowns or something like that. They still dominated for 10 minutes out of 15, but they lose the fight because of the last round. It's both things can be argued.
Absolutely. Awesome stuff. And we could talk there for hours about judging and rules in MMA, and I think a lot has to be done. Things are gonna be changed. We don't know when or where or in what kind of form. I wanna play a little game with you. Because you pride yourself as a guy who has an opinion on a lot of things, and we want to pressure test that. I'm gonna throw some stuff at you, and I wanna hear your opinion and your argument for it or against it.
Okay, go for it.
Is that good?
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
First of all, I wanna say, you're a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You studied architecture. You have a great job in boxing. You're a good-looking guy, but on Facebook, all we see is your feet. Now, it's probably the most unfavorable part of your body. Why is that?
Man, that picture is me. It's funny that you say. People recognize me because of that. It's not about the feet. It's about the flip-flops in the grass.
Okay.
The sun's flying on it. It's all about lifestyle. Easy lifestyle, taking it easy and living life. Not, you have to live life. You don't do anything besides that. That's what that picture shows.
Okay, I can see that. I was just wondering, like.
Actually, some people have laughed at me saying, Patrick, you go on Facebook and there's Patrick DeCaro's. They choose me because of that flip-flop picture, because they know I'm the type of guy who will be in flip-flops and shorts all year round if I can, and that's just the easy type of going guy, and that's who I am.
Yeah, and it's actually it's faster to sort you out when you scroll through all your friends. You just have to look for some flip-flops.
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome. So opinion. Let's go with the transgender fighter, Fallon Fox.
Okay. I haven't read a lot about it. I guess the issue is transgender. Does he fight? Is she a woman or is he a guy? With whom does he fight? Is that it?
Exactly. Can she fight women, or is that unfair?
I would, dude, that's a hard question. Opinion on that? I would say if she's more, it depends where she is on the scale. Is she more of a man, then she fights with men. If she's clinically a woman, then she should fight with women. If she's clinically a guy, well, she should fight with guys. I mean, there's no, it's either or, And at a certain point, there just has to be a choice that be made. I don't think she should be able to, he or she, sorry, I don't know how to qualify, I don't think he or she should fight on both scales. A choice should be made, and it should be stuck with that. And if the choice is wrong, you can always change choices. Change is okay. If she's fighting with the girls, but she's destroying everyone because she's more of a guy, they come with guys. If she goes with guys in the beginning and she's more of a girl, they come with girls. You have to choose one to see if it's the right choice or another.
All right. Next one is TRT.
Okay. Again, clinically, people say it's what they need because they have a testosterone deficiency or a hormonal imbalance or something like that, and then they use it. Now, besides using it, there's a difference between using and abusing. If it's performance enhancing, it's doping, and I don't think it should be used. If it's at a certain point, you have to accept who you are. If you have a hormonal imbalance and you cannot be at a level of a fighter, you cannot do that. At a certain point, if I go blind, I won't be able to do archery.
Mm-hmm.
It's as easy as that.
Mm. All right. What's your opinion about weed being a PED?
I think it is. And I think it should be banned. First of all, because it's not good for your body. It does harm to your body. Your body is made to breathe air, not smoke, no matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, people think, oh yeah, it just relaxes you. It does only this. It doesn't enhance your performance. Okay, well, if you look at, I'll come back to MMA. If you look at archery, you need to be really calm. Just shoot that arrow straight. So actually, using things that will make you calm and enhances your performance. Now, going back to MMA, if you've ever fought MMA, you know you're stressed.
Mm.
You know that after or during training sessions, you're stressed. Afterwards, you're thinking about your fight, and you can't sleep because you're just stressed. You smoke up some. I've never smoked, okay, so I don't know, but this is what people say. You take it, you take weed, you smoke up, you feel good, you feel happy, you don't feel stressed anymore. So you're actually enhancing your performance to train better. You're relaxing yourself so you can focus better, or you can just forget about your problems, which are going to eat into your training or into your mental status. So you're actually helping because you're smoking up. So I believe you're actually enhancing your performance, not physically and not stuff like that, but on a whole different level. You're, a mental level, being stressed is bad while you fight. Being relaxed is good, So, so I believe it's bad, and I think it should be banned.
Okay, interesting. That's a different argument. Yeah, that's good. What's your opinion on women fighting in the UFC?
It's awesome. I believe women's sport is good. Unfortunately, there's not enough. The level is not high enough at the moment. It's coming there. It has to start some point. And I think it's good. I think women are an integral part of society and should be an integral part of sports. And if you look at women athletes, oftentimes they're more technical than guys because they don't have the strength. They don't rely on the strength. They don't have the strength to rely on if the technique doesn't work. So, and if you have I've seen this in women fighters. Women have a lot more oomph. They want to go out there and leave it out all there on the mat. They have, they have less of an ego in a way.
Yeah.
They leave it there, and it's awesome. I think it's awesome. I'm not sure the level is there yet, but you need to start someplace, and it's good. Just go for it. Have it more and more. And it's not only about the athletes, because I think there's lots of women athletes that want to go out there and show what they have. I think it's also about educating the audience that it's okay. Now, the ethical question is women doing fight sports is hard to see. Why not? I don't know if I like it personally. I don't have an argument that will sustain it because women can fight. Now, it's again, if I say it shouldn't be done, it's just because of tradition. A guy can punch. Women shouldn't get punched or punch. But that's tradition. That's ethnical, cultural background that I would have to say that. But I believe that women should go into sports, and if it's MMA they want to do, go for it. They should have the possibility.
How would you feel if Ronda Rousey, for example, would fight a guy? I'm talking about Brian Caraway, the boyfriend of Misha Tate, her arch nemesis.
A girl versus guy?
Yeah.
I think it's wrong. I don't think a girl versus guy will bring anything. A guy is physically always stronger, no matter what. At same weight, the guy will be stronger, and technical level can be the same. A guy and women, or a guy and a girl can have the same technical level. At the same technical level, same weight, same everything, the guy will have extra strength, and he'll use that. And I do not think it's good. Also, on an audience, I don't think it's good image for sport to have a guy especially in a fight sport, and I think that's the main issue. In like something like archery, I wouldn't mind at all because there's no difference.
Yeah.
In a fight sport, having a man hit a woman is not good. It's not good for the image, not at all, because something's going to go wrong. It shows the wrong image of society. It shows the wrong image. And again, we're going back to the idea: to sell a sport, you need to sell an image. Yeah. It has to be a clean image. So I'm completely against it.
Recently, there's been a lot of talk. Some fighters came forward and they were saying that what they actually get paid by the UFC doesn't gives them the possibility of living the life as a fighter. They have to have full-time jobs and stuff. What's your opinion on that?
I think it's true, first of all, because I know as a fact, I was talking about Volkan before. He's a friend of mine. I know he needs a job. I know he cannot live off of fighting, and I know that UFC has that idea. Now, again, whose shoes do you put yourself into? The fighter as a beginning person, or UFC as a company who's trying to sell and make money. No matter what company you work for, they will try to get the most out of you by paying you the least. You know, some companies are trying to revolutionize that. Fair enough, but let's say a majority of companies will use you. You are a tool for them, and UFC needs fighters. And imagine if UFC starts paying $300,000 to every fighter. How much money is it going to make? You know, something's going to happen at the top level. They won't be driving their cars. They won't be going in their planes. And that's what, people are greedy. I'm not saying UFC is greedy, but I'm saying that, they want to make money at the end of the day. I agree that fighters should be paid maybe more, but it's like all athletes, I think if you, it's a hard way. That's again, it makes the eliteness of being an athlete, especially a fighter. You have to do that 100% job until you start winning that money, and then you can change. It's the path of a fighter,
So should fighters get unionized?
Should fighters get unionized to what? Go on strike? I think unions are good for some reason, for some certain situations, but unions have also destroyed a lot. I don't think super socialism in an athletic world should be endorsed. At a certain point, our society is the way it is. Unions for insurances, for things like that, for fighters to get perks. Fair enough. I think you could, but I think it could be a dangerous path to go down.
Do you believe that the UFC could pay the fighters more, or is that just Okay.
Yeah, they can definitely. I mean, they have the resources for it. At a certain point, no, they can't. There's absolutely no doubt that you can a couple of thousand here and there. When you start seeing the win bonuses, I mean, you could just take down the win bonus by $10,000 and spread that, spread that around.
That's what they think of doing.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, yeah, but then the other fighters who are like exciting fighters and they kind of like aim for fight of the night, knockout or submission of the night. They say like, hey, well, I mean, I'm putting on exciting fights, and then there's no fight bonus. What's up with that?
No, I'm not saying to get rid of the fight bonus. I'm saying to diminish the fight bonus. Because obviously, winning. I mean, at a certain point, you cannot be the greedy little kid and say, I want 100,000 for, that's a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
The guy fought 15 minutes and won $100,000. That makes, if you do it times 4, $400,000 an hour.
Yeah.
What job in the world pays that?
Yeah.
So they have to start, and I think sports in general has to start really, looking at things, relativizing things, because, if someone tells you, listen, okay, you fought, I'm happy with you, and I'll give you $20,000. What, you're going to say, no, I want 40? No, come on.
Yeah.
And so I think you can bring down 65, and generally it's 65,000, I think, the bonuses. If you bring it down to 40,000, you have bonuses. You bring it down 25,000, you have 75,000 to spread around the other undercards and all the others.
Yeah, that would actually make a difference.
Everyone's winning,
Yeah, that would make a difference. What's your opinion of the UFC having like almost like a monopoly on the sport?
I think it's it's good to be in the UFC because of that. I think it's hard to rivalize them. They were there at the right time and the right moment. They were just there. If you look at any new sports company coming up, you have who are the big sports athletics? Adidas and Nike.
Yeah.
Those are the big. They're there. They're eating up everyone else. I'm not saying it's good, but it's hard. You need to have that thing. And the thing is, UFC was there at the right time. They have awesome marketing. They have finances to buy the best fighters. At the moment they have the best product. And fair enough. Hats off to them.
I mean, for the fans, it's good because we really see the best fighting the best. There's no two organizations where they cannot fight each other like boxing, where they've signed with different promoters and it's not possible to see the fights that we want to see.
But the situation I'm seeing now is, it's like Starbucks.
Yeah.
Starbucks used to be a good coffee company. And it was known to be a classy type thing when it came out in the United States. And then it was too much of a good thing. It's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now Starbucks is just, it's overpriced coffee. It's not even that good. They have, that's it. And they're everywhere. It's like McDonald's. And I'm scared for UFC that they're going down the path of, McDonald's, of a fast food, of a fast MMA chain. That's where there might be a niche market that I think Bellator wants to come up saying, listen, we have a transparent tournament system, and if you're at the top, you'll fight this number 2 ranking. Mm-hmm. Whereas UFC is more like, okay, I like you, you'll get a shot. We don't know why this guy gets a shot. You're some guy. We just want you to fight because you have a good punch. So there's that type of transparency issues that might have a flaw in them. And I think there's at a certain point, you have UFC every weekend. Are you going to watch every UFC weekend here? No, I missed this one. I'll see the next.
Well, I watch everything.
So, huh?
I watch everything.
Yeah, fair enough. There are hardcore guys, but how many?
Yeah.
Mainstreaming, trying to get it mainstream. There's mainstream and mainstream. Once it's on Fox, it's on every weekend. Fair enough, but they haven't cut anything.
Yeah.
And people are thinking. I know it's an issue. Is the fact? Yes, it's the monopoly and it's working. They're on their wave right now, but is the quality diminishing? That's the question I'm going to throw out there. Saying, is the quality of the fights diminishing or getting any better?
Well, I would say the quality of the fighters is diminishing because you see low-level guys who would not have been in the UFC like 10 years ago.
Exactly, because they need to start populating those rosters for every single weekend.
Yeah.
So that might be their downfall,
So that brings me to the next one, actually. So UFC on Fox with all these shows, the Fox deal, is that for the sport? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
For the sport, I would say it's a good thing.
Yeah.
For the UFC, it might not be a good thing. As a company, UFC made probably lots of money, but on the long term, what's next? Like we just said, there's too many fights and too many. People don't watch everything. They at a certain point they'll lose interest. As long as there's interest, there's the sport, and it's good that it went on Fox because it's creating interest. It's going into mainstream, and it's making people say, okay, well. I didn't have the $50 to watch the pay-per-view. I'll watch this. Oh, I actually like it. Let's watch the pay-per-view. And okay, it is a sport. It's not just two brutes fighting each other. Okay, there's rules, and I get to understand how it works. So it's good for the sport because more people are seeing it. But I think maybe UFC, like we just said before, it might not be the best choice for UFC. And I think something's going to change. Somehow they're gonna have to change something over there.
I still can't make up my mind, because they have these Fox shows because they want to build up fighters they can afterwards sell on pay-per-view, because pay-per-view is basically their business. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
in the Fox business. Fox pays $700 million over 7 years. That's obviously a lot of money, but their main business is pay-per-view. So they're building these guys, and then they can sell them on pay-per-view.
Yeah, definitely. That's like they're hooking the people. They're hooking
Yeah.
the people on mainframe TV and saying, okay, guys, if you really want to watch the next big fight, come buy the pay-per-view. And it's probably good, but they're diluting their product, I would say, by having so many Fox shows, so many shows. It's diluting a product could be difficult. It's either it works or it's either or. I don't think there's a middle term here.
Yeah. So with all these fighters, you have fighters train in different camps, and sometimes they train in more than one camp, and then you have situations where, well, fighter A doesn't want to fight fighter B because they know each other and stuff like that, so it all gets difficult. We have the situation with the heavyweights now. Cain Velasquez won't fight Daniel Cormier and vice versa because they train the same team. Training at different teams or not fighting your teammate, what's your opinion on that?
I think training at different teams is good because obviously no one has all the knowledge. So to get the best fighter, I think the best fighter has to move. It could be, if I want to train wrestling, I want to go train with the best wrestling coach out there. If I want to train stand-up, same thing. Or BJJ, same thing. The issue obviously comes down as, like you're saying, two people that know each other. Again, you have it in so many sports. It comes down to, if you look at the number one sport in the world, football. So soccer, football, whichever one you want to call it. You have people playing in the leagues, and then you have the national teams, and then they start playing against each other. Okay, you're not punching anyone, but the idea is the same. It's part of the sport. It might happen. I would say if you're training with the person in the same camp, in the same team at the moment, well, at that point, it's not the time. But if the situation arises where, unfortunately or fortunately, your team is the very best, and you have number one and number two in your team, that's where the situation comes up. And I think it's a difficult choice. At a certain point, I would say professionally, you would have to split up. I think Greg Jackson did that once. He said, "Okay, these guys are. I know them both. I'm not gonna corner either." And then I think it's professionalism, because if you train with a guy, you know him, fair enough, but he knows you as well. So at a certain point, it's your intellect that's going to make you win or not. It's the fact that you say, okay, I know this guy's a better wrestler than me, so I need to find a wrestler that can imitate him. So I create my camp accordingly. Because Daniel Cormier will have to find a guy who's as cardio as Cain Velasquez, as a hard puncher, and okay, he can use Cain Velasquez, but if there has to be other people who are as good as him, and so he can use those. And on the other side, Cain Velasquez has to find a wrestler that's as good as Daniel Cormier, and there's wrestlers out there. And then you start creating a camp, and in the end, you have created two camps. And there's no bad blood. They're athletes, and at a certain point in an athlete's career, there's hard choices. It's like the next hard choice that I would compare to it is choosing to change trainer, coach. That's a really hard choice. Lots of people grow up with a certain coach, and then you're like, this guy can bring me something, and I need to train with him for that. And I think in the end, you'd have to do what you have to do. Is it smart to not fight against a friend? I would say if it's a training partner, it's different than if it's a friend.
Yeah.
For me, friendship comes first.
Yeah.
And I've always had that. I'm not going to punch a friend because that's not part of the sport. If it's a colleague, I mean, I just train with him. I have nothing to do with him. I just, and it's the issue. The point comes because you're striking someone. The issue wouldn't come if you're doing BJJ because, There's no harm. There's no elbow that can cut you. There's no knockout.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where the issue comes in.
Yeah. Would you fight a friend in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it's happened, and yeah, you put it aside. There's no. It's like playing ping pong with a friend.
Yeah.
Would you play ping pong with a friend? Yeah, why not? You win, you lose.
Yeah.
You're still friends.
Yeah.
And if your friendship ends because someone wins or loses, it's not a real friendship.
There's not a real friendship. Yeah, absolutely.
So there's values that are above sport, and there's values that are above competition. You know.
Absolutely. Awesome stuff, Patrick, and we could talk for hours. I just have a few more questions. I appreciate the time you give us.
No problem.
I want to focus.
I just have to talk to my girlfriend afterwards.
Oh my God!
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry.
Yeah, she's gonna send me hate mail now. Let's focus on the Swiss MMA scene. There are a few organizations. Shoto is definitely one of them. Strength and Honor is well, they have strong events. Then there's some sort of like mixed fighting events with Thai boxing and stuff. How do you see the Swiss MMA scene 2013?
I think it's really evolved. I mean, Shuto and everything that has been done by the Shuto Commission is awesome. I think it's great. It really evolved. I was at Shuto 1, you know.
Yeah.
I was there when Shuto evolved, and I fought in Shuto 1 and then in Shuto 8 or 7 or something like that. So I think it's great. The amateur level, like the 4 or 5 whole Swiss level thing that they're doing events is great. Having pro fights is great as well. I think it's a good ring event. I think Strength and Honor is more of a UFC wannabe type thing, which is good as well because it's a cage event. I think you need both. It would be awesome to have I would, in inverted commas, a Shuto in a cage type thing. Obviously, they're not compatible because of the rules, but having a cage event that's amateur and that just has a league type thing, I think it's great. Honestly, it's the only way to make a sport evolve is to have events, to have possibilities of experience for fighters, and that's the only thing. For the moment, it's a lot in the Swiss German side. And unfortunately, in Switzerland, you have the Röstigraben, you know, but that's breaking as well because the last amateur event I think was in Geneva, and so that's great. I think what's good about the Shuto is that it's open to everyone, and I think it should be. I think that's a big issue in Switzerland is openness, federations, federating people, and leaving human side away and making the sport grow. Sport as a sport and professionally. And it's going the right way, but there's still, I think, has to have an openness where everyone can participate, even if you're not part of MMA. You know, if I'm a judo practitioner and I want to do a Shuto amateur, I should be able to. And I think it is the case, so that's good. And it should continue that way. I think it shouldn't go down the line of doing everything for profit, because profit kills a sport. Even though you need profit to make the sport grow, but obviously, you know, like George Orwell said, you know, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think you need to watch out for that. That's the deciding factor.
What needs to be done to bring MMA sport closer to the mainstream public?
Educate the public, educate the fighters. Both. It's education. It's making the fighters into athletes. You know, having the image of a fighter, of a killer. You know, of gonna break someone, die, and go to war, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I just putting it that way already makes it non-sporting.
Yeah.
And it's obviously that you know, the audience will look at it. Yeah, he's going to war. How many times do you see someone on Facebook when you're about to go to a fight, they say, go to war?
Yeah.
Or how many coaches have you heard say to their fighters, yeah, go kick his ass, kill him? Or yeah, he said something bad about your wife or your girlfriend, go kick his ass for it. you have to understand. No one ever says that about your wife when you fight. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Those type of things are the fighter's education. It's a hard sport, but you can't make it into a death killing whatever. And it's all about also the merchandising. When you look at lots of companies out there, they're all about skulls and dead and angels of death and stuff like that. What kind of an image does that give? If you see your 4-year-old kid walking with an angel of death T-shirt, you ask yourself, there's something wrong here. I don't want him to associate to that sport, and that's his situation. And then educating the audience by saying, when someone's grappling on the ground, you don't have to boo them. It's part of the sport. You don't go for the blood. It's a technical sport. Throwing a punch is technical. Avoiding a punch is technical. Grappling is technical. Having more of that aspect brought out to the audience, saying it's a sport, guys. There's rules. People don't go there to die. People don't go there to break other people's arms. If it happens, it's unfortunate. It's an accident. You shouldn't go there to break. You should give the possibility of tapping out. It's all these things that need to be brought to the forefront more than the whole hardcore, I'm a killer, the tattoos, maybe just because I'm not that type of fighter, I'm not that type of guy. But I believe that's what takes people, from the sport.
When do we see the first Swiss guy in the UFC?
Hopefully soon. I think, I actually believe, honestly, Volkan is going to be one of the first. He signed with Bellator now. The contract is a very difficult contract in the way that it's hard to get out.
Yeah.
So once he starts performing, and I didn't say if, I said when, because I'm pretty much sure he will perform.
Yeah.
I really hope that, and good luck to Volkan. I think he has the potential to go to UFC, and hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. I think it's not going to be this year. It's not going to be next year. It's going to be in 2 to 3 years, I would say. Because for the moment, I follow a bit of the MMA scene in Switzerland as much as I can. I personally don't think there's anyone ready for that level yet.
Yeah.
And it's coming. We have a lot of potential in Switzerland. But again, you cannot, united we stand, divided we fall. It exists for a reason. It sounds cheesy, but it exists for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think if we started working together more, not only the two clubs here and there that like each other, but really create a base, some sort of way of training together, because we have awesome strikers, we have awesome grapplers, we have awesome, judo players. If we can all work together, everyone will benefit from it, and then we can kick everyone's ass, But at the moment, the way it is at the moment, it's everyone's in a little corner doing the little thing, not trusting anyone, not wanting to give up something. Lots of egos involved. It's not the right way. It's not the right way.
Volkan is going to compete in the 205 in the light heavyweight division in Bellator. He might end up facing guys like King Mo or Noe, or the champion is the Hungarian guy. How do you think he matches up with these guys?
Yeah, the chances. Volkan is I think that the weakest point of Volkan is in his head.
Yeah.
He has awesome striking. He learns really quickly, but sometimes he doubts. Sometimes he's young, huh?
Yeah.
He's young, and he needs that experience. And I think he might lose the first time against a King Mo, but he'll learn and come back and he'll win. And that's his advantage. He has the drive to win. He needs to be well surrounded, which he is at the moment, and even better surrounded. And I think the problem is for him at the moment is sparring partners. There's not many 205 guys walking around Switzerland who have the level of Volkan,
Yeah.
and that's the situation. I mean, I can train with Volkan, but if he goes hard on me, okay, great. I'll train with him once, and then I'll go to the hospital and come back home.
Yeah.
So I can give him. There's people around him that can give him the technical stuff he needs, and now he just needs to go out there and find people he can actually practice with. He has a very good base in Neuchâtel. I know the guys really well. Fight Move Academy, and they're taking care of him as best as possible.
Yeah.
But I think the next move for Volkan is he needs to find some sparring partners that will, better people than him.
Yeah.
He needs to be challenged, and that's where, if he's not challenged, he becomes lazy.
Yeah.
And I think that's why in a fight versus like a King Mo or someone who everyone thinks is better, it's a challenge, and it'll be a hard fight to win, But if it's a hard fight, he'll fight better.
Yeah.
And it's always that, the underdog often wins. Why? Because he has nothing to lose and everything to gain. So I think he could face. Right now, it would be too much because he's not at that level yet. But he needs to work his way up, and he's like 22, 23. There you go. I mean, UFC fighter, MMA fight sports peak is at 28 to 32.
Yeah.
So he already has all that time to get up to that level.
Yeah. Great stuff, Patrick. Thank you very much for being on the show.
No problem. Whenever you guys want, I'm up for it.
Absolutely, we got to do it again. You have to come to Zurich one time so we can sit down and have a little chat.
Definitely.
Fans, they can get in touch with you on Facebook.
Yeah, definitely. Or you can send me an email at bjj.lausanne.ch@gmail.com. You can like the Facebook page BJJ Lausanne, or just hit me up on Facebook. Send me an email. I'll answer as much as I can. Give me your questions, answers. If there's any fans out there, anything, I'll talk to anyone. No problem.
Cool, right on. And if they are in the Lausanne area and want to check out some black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, what's the name of your club and where is it located?
It's really easy. Yeah. Go on to Google, BJJ Lausanne, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Lausanne, Jiu-Jitsu Brazilian Lausanne. You'll find the webpage, or it's at the Mikami Judo Club. I share it with Sergei Ashwanden, and it's in Lausanne, Avenue des Bergères 24 1004 Lausanne. So really easy. On the site, you'll have my telephone number, email. Send me an email. I'll give you all the directions. Come drop in whenever you want. Free classes in the beginning. Honestly, no sweat. You'll have fun, and hopefully you'll learn something.
Yeah, try it out because it's awesome.
Thanks a lot for this opportunity. Thanks a lot for having me on the show. And yeah, honestly, whenever you guys need anything, and anyone, honestly, I shout out to anyone in Switzerland. If you need a coach, if you need some advice, if you need anything, just if I can help, I'll help. I love this sport. I love all the sports, and I want to make it grow. And let's do it together.
Absolutely. And as you can see, there's no ego involved because he has his flip-flops on the Facebook page, so he doesn't care.
There we go.
There you go. Hey, Patrick, thanks very much. Appreciate, and good luck to you.
Thanks a lot. Have a good evening. Good night to everyone, because it's already midnight. So, yeah, take care, everyone. Thanks a lot.
All right, take care, Patrick. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Das ist Patrick DeCaro aus Lausanne, BJ Black Belt, MMA Pioneer und All-Around Good Guy. Das wäre eigentlich schon fast das Ende von unserem Podcast. Ich möchte noch rasch auf zwei Sachen zu sprechen kommen. Am 20. Juni, das ist fast ein bisschen in Vergessenheit geraten, hat ja der Yatsu Enomoto in der Fight Nights Battle of Moscow gegen den Shamil Zavurov gewonnen. Gegen den hat er schon zweimal gekämpft. Das erste Mal hat er verloren, das zweite Mal hat er gewonnen. Jetzt hat er wieder durch Unanimous Decision hat er gewonnen. Ein wichtiger Sieg für ihn. Wo ihn seine Karriere jetzt anführt, das wissen wir noch nicht. Er hat es eigentlich recht clever gemacht, muss ich sagen. Er hat keinen neuen Vertrag bei M1 Global unterschrieben, wo exklusiv gewesen wäre. Er hat sonst keinen Vertrag unterschrieben. Fight Nights, das ist ein Vertrag für einen Kampf. Ihm stehen eigentlich alle Türen offen, wo es eventuell anführt. Das können wir uns ja vorstellen. Vielleicht auch nach Asien, hat er mal gesagt. ONE FC ist da auch im Gespräch. Es war recht clever gewesen, dass er da nicht einen Exklusivvertrag irgendwo unterschrieben hat. Ja. Jetzt ist er ein Free Agent und kann mal schauen, was auf ihn zukommt. Gratulieren. Ja, für den grossen Sieg. Wir sind gespannt, wie es weitergeht. Ein zweiter, der gekämpft hat, und zwar am letzten Wochenende. Das ist der Patrick Berisha gewesen. Er hat seinen grossen Auftritt gehabt am Cage Warriors Fighting Championships 56 in London, hat dort gegen den Robbie Oliver gekämpft. Robbie Oliver ist vor ein paar Jahren mal ein ganz grosser Star gewesen bei Cage Rage. Es ist jetzt ein bisschen ruhiger geworden, jetzt tut er seine Karriere neu lancieren. Der Patrick Berisha hat einen guten Kampf gezeigt, hat nach Punkten über 3 Runden verloren. Es war eigentlich ein rechter Grappling-Kampf gewesen, fast alles am Boden gewesen. Und man muss sagen, der Robbie Oliver hat ihn gut können kontrollieren. Nichtsdestotrotz hat Patrick Berisha gutes Grappling gezeigt. Ja, es hat einfach noch ein bisschen etwas gefehlt, zum dann im Stand-up da können punkten und sich nicht so einfach zu Boden zu nehmen lassen. Wie es für ihn weitergeht, das sind wir auch gespannt. Eventuell mit weiteren Kämpfen bei Cage Warriors. Wir hoffen es. Wäre super, wenn wir einen Schweizer da bei so einer grossen Organisation dabei hätten. Auch ihm herzliche Gratulation von uns. Über UFC mit Anderson Silva und Chris Weidman, über was dort passiert ist und alles. Da reden wir in der nächsten Woche mit dem Metze in unserem Live-Broadcast. Sind gespannt. Dort werden wir auch 2 UFC-Events dann noch previewen. Der Yours truly, Vladimir Baumann, geht dann nachher in die Ferien. Ich bin wann bin ich weg? 20. Juli bis 3. August nicht dort. Da gibt es also kein mmalove-Podcast, bin dann wieder zurück und dann mit neuem Elan und frisch von der Ferien. Ja, das wäre es gewesen. Ich möchte mich nochmal herzlich bedanken beim Patrick DeCaro für das sehr interessante Interview. Ich hoffe, er wird einmal auch in Zürich zu Gast sein und dann können wir da auch noch ein bisschen über andere Sachen reden. Merci vielmals nochmal ihm und wenn ihr mit ihm Kontakt aufnehmen wollt, geht auf seine Facebook-Page Patrick DeCaro. Ich möchte auch nochmal bei dieser Gelegenheit euch Hörer herzlich danken für die Unterstützung und für das Lob und auch für die Kritik. Und wenn ihr so etwas weiterhin habt, Anmerkungen, etwas könnt, schreibt mir ein E-Mail, mmalofepodcast@gmail.com, Facebook mmalofepodcast oder folgt uns auf Twitter @mmalofepodcast. Ja, das wäre es eigentlich. Noch ein herzliches Dankeschön, selbstverständlich wie immer unser Lieblingssponsor soulcoreware.com. Da gibt es alles, was ihr braucht für Thai-Boxen, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu und MMA. soulcoreware.com. Und als letztes noch Rest in Peace Kurt Villiger, einer der ersten wahren MMAler, wo auch ein bisschen über den Tellerrand rausgeschaut hat und sich auch von anderen Stilen inspirieren lassen hat, wo leider viel zu früh von uns gegangen ist. Das wäre es für heute. Ich bedanke mich bei euch und ciao zusammen.